Well, Razorback fans, you know what? I'm actually kind of low-key excited about spring football starting up next week. So let's talk about why.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of the John Nabors Show, which you can catch every weekday afternoon from 4 to 6 on Natty State Sports and nattystatesports.com. This episode is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them all out today at nissanusa.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful day today. As I know, basketball is still whatever, terrible. And baseball is about to get it going. You know, it's still slow, but once it gets into the parts of actual SEC baseball season, things will pick up. But one thing that actually is going on here soon is football. Because next Thursday, Arkansas starts their spring practices. And we know spring practices has a bunch of scrimmages, and they're open to the media, or at least some of the media. You can have it to where you're watching games or watching the practices via the stretching or via the scrimmaging or via the drills. You know, there's just a lot of ways to watch it. And since it's starting up next week, I think that the basketball team has really just made me turn a new leaf and say, you know what? I really only want to look forward to football in the spring. That's what I want. And it's amazing how going into this season, and especially going into this spring season, the level of energy and excitement surrounding football I won't say it's an all-time low, but it is low. It's lower than normal. Now, again, I think that the basketball team and their lack of success has helped out when it came to people at least looking forward to this year, maybe a little bit more now because they're just looking for something else. But this is just such a crucial and pivotal year for Razorbacks. I think that there's been so many positives that you could take from this past year's offseason so far. And maybe you'll try to look at it and, well, you know, it could be better. This could be improved. This could be this. This could be that. But when you honestly look at the Razorback football team this year and compare it to where you were last year at this time, there are so many new faces. There are so many different people, different players. The rosters change so much. There's a lot of uncertainty. And in most cases, or at least in previous cases, this was always a very alarming thing, a scary thing, if you would, because everyone was like, oh, man, well, hold on a second. Like, we want to have the same players, and we want to develop these players, and we want to have the roster not have a bunch of turnover because if the production's coming back, that usually means and equates to success, or at least year-over-year success. And normally I would agree, but because of the current state of college athletics, especially college football, and knowing what Arkansas did last season, which wasn't good, and heading into this season, the roster turnover, folks, is actually not a bad thing. Sure, you like familiarity. We all do. We like to sit back and say, you know what? I feel good about this year because I saw this player play for us last year, and he's really good. And I think he'll be even better this year. You know, we like familiarity. We like being able to identify and recognize exactly who's doing what and how it looks. Like, we like that because we don't like unpredictability. We don't like being able to go into anything in life and not at least have an idea of what's going to happen or how it's going to look. Doesn't mean it always goes according to plan, but we at least like to have the idea. But this year, there's so many new faces that it's hard to really know what to expect out of Arkansas. I mean, for crying out loud, this is the first time in a long time you've had a true legitimate quarterback competition. Although I believe it's going to be Taylon Green. I think he's going to be my starter. There's still some nice competition there that could change people's minds. The defense lost a lot of key players, but also returned some key players. I think Landon Jackson, without question, is the biggest one to return. But how many linebackers did you lose? I mean, my goodness, you seem like you lost the whole dadgum team in the linebacker room. And the secondary players, I think there's a chance they could be really good next season. And you have some key pieces returning. You got some out of the portal. You know, there's just so many different position groups to where you can feel good or feel bad. It doesn't matter. But because it's so new, and you went 4-8 last year, who's to say that that's not the best thing for this team is to have nothing but new things and new players? Having new quarterback, new running backs. I think like the only position that's really close to staying the same maybe from last year is like the wide receivers. Because you got Isaac Tesla coming back. You got Andrew Armstrong coming back. Broden. You know, a few other kids. Isaiah Satania. Like, you got that, and that's about the most familiar thing of all. But I think getting new faces in there is exactly what this team needs and what this program needs, and somebody like Bobby Petrino, what he needs. And he's the newest face of them all. The face of hope. Like, think about that. Like, Bobby Petrino, be honest. He's the face of hope for this Razorback football program right now. Because this year's a do or die for Sam Pittman. If Sam Pittman doesn't really get things going, and I mean get things going quickly in the right direction, I'm talking about 7 wins next season, the fire is going to be too much for him to nearly overcome. Like, you can't be going into this next year and trending down and have another 5-win season and keep your job. You just can't do it, and you won't do it. So this is a season that is so crucial and vital for Sam Pittman and his success. But that success hinges on the success of Bobby Petrino. Because here's the thing. If Bobby Petrino comes in and has an offense that's significantly better than what you saw a year ago, and it could even be an offense that is not totally like it was in 2010, 2011, although that would be nice, but just an offense that maybe is in the top 6 or 7 in the SEC, which I don't think is out of the realm of a possibility. But if it can get to that point, the success of this team is going to really lift off and really be great. This team's going to go as the offense goes, and the offense is going to go as the quarterback goes. I have zero doubt that Bobby Petrino is going to be calling some great plays, calling some great drills, doing some great things in practice, getting these guys ready to take that next step and to be a great offensive player. I know that's all going to be there, but is it going to be effective enough against a lot of these teams that they're going to be facing, especially in the SEC? It's possible. And honestly, I think one of the best things that could have happened to Arkansas and the Razorback football program with Petrino coming in is that Petrino actually was at Texas A&M last year. You remember that, right? He was at Texas A&M, and I think everybody saw that that was an interesting hire, and Jimbo was basically a dead man walking, got fired. But what helps more than anything is that Petrino, while he was at Texas A&M, already went up against a lot of the teams, the same teams that Arkansas is going to be facing this season. You know, I'd be feeling a little bit different if it was that Bobby came from Missouri State straight to Arkansas. I'd feel different. But I believe because of him being at A&M and getting to see LSU, getting to see Ole Miss, getting to see Mississippi State, which I know they have a different coach, but still, getting to see these other teams that Arkansas is going to be facing off against, I think that can help him prepare. He's already probably got plays lined up to go up against these certain teams and know it's like, all right, well, we're going to run this play and this play at this time, and then we're going to get it going. But when it comes to spring football itself, the only camera that's going to be on and going to be rolling on anything or anybody that's going to keep the interest or the excitement for this team is Bobby Petrino and the quarterbacks. Doesn't mean you can't be concerned about anything or not care about anything. I'm talking about the excitement, the juice. It's only coming from the offense and only coming from Bobby Petrino. So if I'm the University of Arkansas football program, I am promoting and marketing Bobby all the time. I know he doesn't like to be marketed, but I'm talking about in these practices, you need to have film and videos of him walking around, of the quarterbacks going through drills, wide receivers catching big-time passes. The rest of it, fine, whatever. But that is where the excitement needs to come from, because that is what is going to make this team go from being a 4-8 team to a possible 7-8 win team. If the offense is great, if the offense is going, if the offense gets it, everybody understands and everybody's good to go. But that's where my excitement comes in. That's honestly the only reason and the only way my excitement actually comes in. Is because I believe that as long as Petrino is involved in the offense and Sam Pittman is actually letting him call the offense, which I don't see any reason why that won't be the case, then this is going to be a fun year, an interesting year. And that's what excites me about it. The mystery, but also the potential. I'm ready for spring ball. I can't wait to overreact to it. It's going to be great. I'm going to get you all juiced up. Everybody's going to be like, oh, John's feeling 10 wins. Who knows? Maybe. I can talk myself into it. I'm sure nobody will come back and make those clips happen. But I'm just excited to have some football and excited for the weather to be better and excited to see what's in store for this team. Folks, are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be like around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. You got the 2024 Nissan Rogue, which is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is always updating your assistant and to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Pay Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. And don't forget also about the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. It has room up to 8 with expansive cargo capacity and advanced capable 4x4 capability with 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds towing. When adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. So take the Nissan Rogue, the Nissan Pathfinder, or the Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure and go shop at nissanusa.com.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Now, I know that some of you are already tired of basketball, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. It's not good, and it hasn't been good, and nobody is celebrating that fact. But I think it's an interesting thing to be discussing the future of Razorback basketball because let's be honest, there's been some speculation, some rumors, people feeling like maybe, just maybe, Muss won't be back next year. Assistants won't be back. The entire team is going to be completely and totally different. Like people have been feeling or hearing that this is going to be just a complete and total overhaul across the entire program. And to be honest, those rumblings, those concerns, or those rumors, that speculation, however you want to put it, doesn't come unwarranted. I'm just going to be honest with you. I mean, from people that I've talked to, from people I've heard, it's not a joke. It's not just true rumor and speculation across the board. There is legitimate smoke to the fire that Muss may not be here next year. Just being honest about it. Now, that doesn't mean that he's gone. Doesn't mean that he's moving on. But it is a possibility. And you probably see, in hearing this, you're probably asking yourself, why? Why would he move on? Why would he do something different? Why would he leave Arkansas? Arkansas is one of the best jobs in the country. And I'd agree with you. But you also got to understand that in this day and age in college basketball, there's a lot of changes that are ongoing. You got a lot of things that are completely and totally out of the control of a lot of the programs and teams and coaches. And then you have some things that they can control. But at the end of the day, all these coaches want the best players. They want to be set up for success. And it's my understanding and my belief that Arkansas is one of those programs that is 100% set up for success no matter what. But there always has to be more. There always has to be something better. There always has to be some sort of deal to take it forward and to make it better than what it's been. I think it was Nolan Richardson said, once you create a monster, you got to be able to feed it. And that's what essentially Eric Musselman and the basketball program has become, and what they've had is that they've created a monster. Not in a negative way, but just you got to feed it. You got to keep it going. You got to keep it moving. You got to keep momentum. And each year, year by year by year, the college sports landscape is changing so rapidly that it's almost too much. It's almost too insane. It's hard to keep up with. I get it. Sometimes I'm looking around, I'm like, I don't even know what to think of this. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know what's going on. And it's the same way where an NIL deal or an NIL setup 2 years ago could have been one of the best in the country, but now it's chump change. Like, that's how rapidly it's growing. Or in the recruiting landscape. Players used to want this and be this and be this, but now it's changed completely. And so when you look at it from all of the different outlooks and the lenses of how college basketball and college sports are and have become in general, it starts to make a little bit more sense as to why it's so chaotic, and also why someone like Eric Musselman from the Razorback Basketball program could potentially leave. I hope he doesn't. I don't want him to. You don't want him to. Absolutely. However, the times are changing. And everything always changing, and how it's changing, and it's almost hard to keep up with. There could be reasons that we don't even understand, and we could never understand. But there is some solace to take in this particular fact, folks. Do I believe Eric Musselman's going to leave? Yeah, eventually. But what's going to keep him here at Arkansas? What's going to keep him for at least another year, maybe more? I think commitment. I think the elevation of whether it's NIL or his own salary. I think a commitment to the Bud Walton renovations, then get those done sooner rather than later, which has been promised. I think all of those elements is what's going to keep Eric Musselman here. And some of you be like, well, if he doesn't want to be here, then you can move on. You can take that mentality. My mentality has always been this, and especially after the firing of Bobby Petrino after the motorcycle wreck. Folks, if you have someone, if you have a coach that is elite and has proven that they're elite and has proven it at your school, those come a dime a dozen. Do whatever it takes to keep them. Now, if Muss had gone through 2 or 3 seasons like we saw this year, then okay, move on. But we're talking about one-off year where all the other years were highly successful. I mean, the man's 8-3 in the NCAA tournament over the past 3 years. We know his success. Don't let your own pride and your own ego get the best of you and let a great coach move on somewhere else. Just don't do it. Arkansas has been notorious for this for too long. Stop. Stop letting the great coaches get out. Stop letting the great coaches leave the state who want to be here, who do want to be here, but these are the things they want. Don't let it be another Gary Blair situation. Don't let that happen. You got a great one. Do whatever it takes to keep him here. Make it happen. Because there's not many coaches in the country. And to be honest, the way I always look at it, you can tell if you want to change your coaches or if you want to change it up strictly on who would you trade him for. How many coaches in college basketball right now would you trade Eric Musselman for? Be honest with yourself. If you even have any, you probably can count them on one hand. Do whatever it takes, Arkansas. Do whatever it takes. All right, get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any $5 winning bet. That's $150 if your best bet wins. So bet on all your favorite NBA players with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and so much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to shoot your shot. It's FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast as I once again pulled the whole thing with the graphics. I don't know why it keeps doing this to me, and I apologize. It's like I got to make sure that everyone knows what I'm talking about here. There we go. Yes, college football playoff. And they're just trying to complicate things. I got this new report that was out, and I saw it from Ross Dellinger, who knows his stuff, because we know college football playoff is trying to ultimately expand and to get into something. Well, Ross Dellinger tweeted out that a 14-team playoff model is being socialized that would grant 3 automatic qualifiers to each of the Big Ten and the SEC conferences, 2 automatic qualifiers to the Big 12 and the ACC, and 1 automatic qualifier to Group of 5, plus 3 at-large bids. The model's not finalized, and it's not the only option, but they are vetting it and discussing it. And he also went on to say that apparently the SEC and the Big Ten are wanting more automatic qualifiers than just 1. This is dumb. This is very dumb. It's not a I know people are getting too dadgum greedy. All right? I get it that these conferences are expanding and all of this, but here's the deal. Forget 12 teams or 14 teams. I don't care how many you have. But just stick to where each conference, major conference at least, gets the just 1 automatic qualifier. Just 1. Do it that way. So that way, you get the conference champion from each of the major conferences, which shows that, hey, this is if you want to go to the playoff, this is what you have to do. This is how you get qualified. This is how you get automatic. And then, once you have 5 of those, I guess, with the Big 10, SEC, Big 12, ACC, we'll say Group of 5. There you go. That gives you 7 to 9 at-large bids. Okay? So, if you have 7 to 9 at-large bids left over, don't you think that there's probably already going to be 2 more SEC teams or 2 more Big 10 teams? 1 more Big 12, like it's going to work itself out. There's no reason to make it to where, no, we need automatic qualifiers, multiple automatic qualifiers per conference. No, just use 1, and the rest of it will take care of itself. I'm sorry, but I don't think that's just so over the top complicated to a system that already doesn't need to be so complicated. Why are you wanting to do it this way? Just stick with the automatic qualification. I just don't understand it. I don't get it. I mean, do you really think that if you have 7 to 9 extra teams at large teams, that 2 of those teams aren't going to be from the ACC and 2 of them are going to be from the Big Ten? You must be crazy. Like it's all going to work itself out, but they try to overcomplicate it. They're trying to make it so dumb, and it's just I really hope that this isn't what happens and this isn't the case, because I'm just so annoyed by it. But that's just the latest in all of it. Appreciate everybody listening in to Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have, and we'll keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.